Welcome to Sleep Shaper, your destination for expertly crafted sleep stories that help you fall asleep faster and deeper. I'm Saiful, your host. I'm so glad you're here, ready to unwind and find peace as we embark on a calming journey of forgiveness and grace in tonight's story. God's Promise, a bedtime story of hope and trust in His plan. We dive into the beauty of trusting God's perfect plan, even in times of uncertainty. Let the soft whispers of the evening breeze and the gentle unfolding of grace guide you into a deep, restful sleep. The night is alive with the wild symphony of a storm. Thunder rumbles in the distance, its deep growls echoing through the night like the voice of the earth itself. Each flash of lightning splits the sky, casting jagged shadows that stretch across the room, dancing like fleeting phantoms. The wind picks up, howling softly at the window, rattling the trees outside, making their limbs sway as though they, too, are frightened of the storm's might. The air feels heavy, cool against the warmth of the room, and carries the scent of rain-soaked earth damp and fresh, as if the world is being washed clean. Inside, Sarah lies tucked under her blanket, her little hands clutching its softness tightly, as if its familiar warmth can shield her from the tempest outside. Her eyes are wide, the glow of the candlelight flickering in the corners of the room, casting soft shadows that seem to move with the rhythm of the storm. The thunder rumbles again, louder this time, shaking the walls, and Sarah pulls the blanket tighter around her, wishing it could block out the deep, endless roar of the storm. The wind whistles through the cracks in the window, making the curtains sway with each gust, and Sarah feels a shiver run down her spine. The sound of the storm, so vast and overwhelming, fills the room, making the space feel small, as though the world outside is closing in. She pulls her pillow close, tucking it beneath her chin, as if it could offer some comfort against the restless, raging world outside. Her breath comes in shallow bursts, her little heart racing faster with each crack of lightning, each deep roll of thunder. The darkness outside seems to press against the glass, making her feel as if the night is stretching out too far. Reaching toward her, her parents, sitting in the corner near the warm light of the flickering candle, notice the fear in Sarah's eyes. They exchange a glance, their hearts filled with love for their little one. They move toward her, their footsteps soft and steady on the floor, bringing with them the soothing balm of calm, their voices like a river flowing gently through the noise of the storm. Her mother leans down, her voice tender and low. "Sweetheart," she whispers, "I know the storm feels scary right now, but remember, God is with us. He has made us a promise, and He will always keep us safe, no matter what." Sarah looks up at her mother, her wide eyes filled with the uncertainty of the night. The wind howls again, and for a moment she feels the fear creep back in. But then, her father's voice joins her mother's, warm and steady, a firm anchor in the midst of the chaos. "God's promises are always true, Sarah," he says softly, his hand gently resting on her shoulder. "Just like He promised Noah that He would never flood the earth again, He promises to keep us safe. We don't need to be afraid, because God is always with us, no matter the storm." As the storm continues to rage outside, Sarah's heart begins to slow, and the fearful thoughts that had once consumed her begin to quiet. The sound of the wind becomes softer now, like the distant hum of a lullaby, as if the very wind is being calmed by her parents' words. The deep, rumbling thunder no longer feels as threatening, but rather as a reminder of the mighty God who watches over her. With each word her parents speak, Sarah feels the warmth of their love surround her. like a gentle embrace that pushes away the fear. The candlelight flickers a little less now, steady and bright, casting a soft golden glow over the room. The shadows on the walls seem to soften, no longer threatening, but peaceful like the soft sway of the trees outside. As the storm rages on, Sarah feels her body relax, her chest no longer tight with anxiety. The promise of God's protection wraps around her like a cozy blanket, warm and safe. Her heart, once quick with fear, now beats slowly and evenly, in rhythm with the peaceful flow of her parents' voices. The storm outside may be loud and fierce, but inside, in the safety of her room, with her parents' comforting presence surrounding her, Sarah knows that she is protected. She feels God's promise, quiet, unwavering presence that is always there, like the steady beat of a heart, always faithful, always true. And as the thunder rolls gently into the distance and the wind begins to quiet, Sarah settles deeper into her bed, the warmth of her blanket now feeling like the comfort of God's arms around her. The storm may still rage outside, but here, in the peace of her room, she is safe, loved, and deeply comforted. As the storm continues to swirl outside, the wind has begun to soften into a gentle murmur. The rain, though steady, no longer pounds against the windows with the same intensity, but instead taps softly, like the delicate sound of a mother's whisper. The room inside feels safe now, cocooned from the storm's fury. The candle flickers gently, casting its warm, flickering glow that dances in the corners of the room, chasing away the shadows that had once felt too close. Sarah's eyes, wide and searching, turn toward her mother's comforting voice as her mother speaks once again, this time sharing a story of faith, trust, and the safety of God's promises. The sound of the rain pattering against the roof above becomes a soft, rhythmic lullaby, blending with the warmth of her mother's soothing tone. "Do you know about Noah, sweetheart?" her mother asks gently, her voice low and steady, as though each word is a soft promise being spoken directly to Sarah's heart. Noah lived in a time when the world was filled with much fear and uncertainty, much like the storm outside, but Noah trusted God, even when he couldn't understand everything that was happening. Sarah listens closely, her thoughts shifting from the storm outside to the story her mother is telling. In her mind, she pictures the vast expanse of the earth, the floods rising higher and higher, threatening to swallow everything in their path. But Noah, brave and calm, built an ark, just as God had instructed him. Her mother's words wrap around Sarah like a blanket of peace. Even when the floodwaters were rising, Noah didn't panic. He knew that God had made him a promise to protect him and his family, and Noah believed that God would keep his word. The sound of the rain against the roof feels softer now, like the distant murmur of a promise being fulfilled. Sarah imagines Noah standing strong and steady on the ark, his eyes focused on the horizon, trusting that God's protection was sure. The world outside may have been filled with chaos, but inside the ark, Noah and his family were safe, surrounded by the steady rhythm of God's plan. Sarah feels her body relax further, the fear from earlier fading like mist with the softening of the storm. Her thoughts drift, and she imagines herself in the ark with Noah, feeling the gentle sway of the boat beneath her feet as the storm rages outside. But inside, it's warm, dry, and safe. The animals around her make soft sounds, comforting her in the stillness of the moment. The rain falls softly on the roof of the ark, a steady, soothing rhythm, much like her own heartbeat now, calm and steady. Her mother continues, her voice gentle and reassuring. God's promise to Noah was a promise of safety, a promise that God would protect those who trust him, even when the world around them seems overwhelming. Sarah can feel the weight of these words, each one like a gentle kiss upon her heart. She thinks about how Noah must have felt, trusting in God's plan, even when the storm seemed endless. Just as Noah was kept safe in the ark, Sarah knows she is safe in God's love, surrounded by his promises. The storm outside no longer seems as frightening. The wind no longer howls but whispers gently through the trees. The rain is no longer a threat, but a soft reminder of God's provision and protection. Sarah's heart beats slowly, her breathing steady, as she lets go of the fear that had once held her tightly. She imagines the ark drifting peacefully on the water, surrounded by the quiet sounds of the rain, knowing that no matter what the storm outside does, God's promise is strong and unshakable. Her mother's voice, filled with warmth and comfort, gently reminds her, just as God protected Noah, he will protect you too, my love. His promises are always true, and he is always with us, in the storm and in the stillness. Sarah snuggles deeper into her blanket, her eyes fluttering as the peace of the story settles around her like a soft embrace. The storm outside has calmed, and the room inside is filled with the warmth of her parents' love and God's promises. She feels the presence of God wrap around her like a blanket of safety, knowing that she is safe, loved, and protected. As Sarah drifts into a peaceful sleep, she carries the comfort of the story with her, reminder that no matter the storms in life, God's promises of safety and protection are always true. His love is constant, and she can trust him completely, just like Noah did. The storm outside has softened to a gentle drizzle, the wind now a mere whisper, brushing through the trees in a peaceful lullaby. Inside, the warmth of the candlelight flickers softly, casting gentle shadows that sway like the rhythm of a prayer. The room feels still, cradled in the embrace of quiet and safety. The storm that once raged has become a distant memory, replaced by the comforting hum of the rain tapping lightly against the windows. Sarah, her small form nestled beneath her soft blanket, listens intently to her father's voice as he begins to tell the next story, one of trust and God's faithful provision. His words are slow and steady, like the gentle rhythm of the rain, each one wrapping around her heart like a soft embrace. "Do you remember the story of Abraham, sweetie?" her father asks, his voice calm and inviting, weaving the story of a man whose faith in God's provision never wavered. Sarah's mind, still comforted by the soft pitter-patter of the rain, drifts into the image of an endless night sky, where Abraham stands alone, gazing up at the stars. Abraham was asked to trust God with something very difficult. Her father continues, the sound of his voice like a warm breeze, soft and gentle. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations. But Abraham had no children, and the years passed. It seemed impossible, like there was no way for God's promise to come true. Sarah imagines the night sky, vast and endless, the stars twinkling above Abraham, each one a reminder of the promise God made to him. Her father's voice fills the room, steady and sure. But even when it didn't make sense, even when the future seemed uncertain, Abraham trusted God's plan. He believed that God would provide, and that God's timing was perfect. The sound of the rain on the roof, soft and rhythmic, becomes a comforting background, a lullaby of faith and provision. Sarah imagines herself standing beside Abraham, looking up at the sky, filled with uncertainty, but also with a quiet trust, that God would provide, just as he had promised. Her father's voice continues, smooth and reassuring. Abraham didn't know how, but he trusted that God's plan would unfold in his time, and God provided, just as he always does. When Abraham was ready to give up, when he thought all hope was lost, God gave him a son, just as he had promised. And through that son, God brought forth many generations. The soft sound of the rain outside, the comforting warmth inside, and her father's words all blend together, creating a sense of calm, of peace. Sarah feels the weight of the story settle deeply in her heart. God's provision doesn't always come when we expect it, and sometimes it seems impossible. But God's promises are always true. The room is filled with a gentle silence as Sarah reflects on the story of Abraham. Her thoughts drift, and she imagines herself standing with Abraham, knowing that even when it's hard to understand, God's provision is always there, just beyond the horizon. The warmth of the room and the peaceful rain outside feel like the gentle assurance of God's care, a reminder that he provides for his children, even in the darkest of times. As Sarah lies there, her eyes beginning to grow heavy, she feels the quiet assurance that just as God provided for Abraham, he will provide for her too. The gentle rhythm of the rain, the soft flicker of the candlelight, and her father's comforting voice make the room feel like a haven of peace, a sanctuary where God's promises are felt deeply. The storm may have passed, but Sarah now knows that God's provision is never far away. It is as certain as the rain that falls softly outside, as constant as the love that surrounds her. She is safe, and she is loved, and God's provision will always be there, even in ways that she may not yet understand. With these thoughts cradling her heart, Sarah drifts into a peaceful slumber, her body relaxed, her heart filled with trust in God's perfect timing and his faithful provision. The storm has completely subsided now, and the world outside is peaceful once again. The wind is a mere whisper, carrying with it the faint scent of fresh earth, cool and sweet after the rain. The soft patter of droplets trickling down the leaves can still be heard, but the heavy roar of the storm is gone, leaving only a gentle calm in its wake. Inside, the room is bathed in the soft, warm glow of the candlelight. The flickering flame dances lazily, casting shadows that move slowly, like the quiet flow of a river, calm and steady. Sarah's heart feels lighter now, her little hands resting gently over her blanket, her body fully relaxed in the safety of her room. The air feels crisp and fresh, as though the rain has washed away any lingering fears and uncertainties. She listens to her father's voice, which now feels like the most peaceful sound in the world, steady and comforting as he begins to tell the story of David. David faced many fears in his life. Her father begins, his voice soft and deep, like the soothing sound of a lullaby. But no matter how big his fears were, he always trusted that God would give him the courage to face them. Sarah feels the warmth of his words wrapping round her like a soft blanket, a feeling of safety spreading from her heart to the tips of her toes. Sarah closes her eyes and pictures David, standing small before the mighty Goliath. She imagines the vast battlefield, the silence before the confrontation, and the tension in the air. But in that silence, she also feels something else, the quiet assurance of God's peace. She envisions David, standing tall, his heart full of faith, knowing that God's power was greater than any fear he might face. David didn't let fear control him, her father continues, because he knew that God was always with him, no matter how big the problem. The The room seems to grow even quieter as her father's voice guides her deeper into the story. The wind has completely died down, leaving only the faintest rustling of the trees, like a quiet sigh from the world itself. Sarah imagines David's trust in God as a steady, unshakable force, much like the calm that fills the room now. The storm may have been fierce and loud, but God's peace is soft and still, like the gentle rhythm of her own heartbeat. David knew that God's power was always greater, her father says, his voice filled with love and assurance. And when he called out to God for help, he found peace, even in the middle of the battle. Just like we can find peace in any storm, no matter how big it is. Sarah feels the weight of these words, sinking deeply into her heart. As the gentle light of the candle flickers softly in the stillness, she feels the peace of the story settle into her soul, much like the stillness that has now come over the world outside. The storm has passed, and Sarah knows, deep in her heart, that God's peace is always available to her, even in times of fear and uncertainty. The room feels like a quiet sanctuary, safe and full of love, where God's promises of peace are felt deeply. She feels His presence here with her, just as David felt God's presence when he stood before Goliath. The peace that comes from trusting in God is like a calm breeze, soft and gentle, filling the room and her heart. As her father's voice continues, she imagines herself in the arms of God, cradled by His love and peace. We can always trust that God will give us the peace we need, he says softly. Even when things seem hard or scary, God's peace will always surround us, just like a warm hug. Sarah's breath slows, her eyelids growing heavier with each word. The world outside feels far away now, the storm nothing more than a distant memory. The candlelight flickers gently, casting soft shadows on the walls, as if the very light is cradling her in its warmth. The peace of the story of David's trust in God wraps around Sarah like a soft, comforting blanket. She knows that no matter what storms come her way, God's peace will always be with her, steady and unchanging. Her father's voice fades to a whisper, and the room feels full of warmth and stillness, filled with the quiet assurance that Sarah is safe, loved, and protected. The storm may have passed, but the peace that comes from trusting in God's promises remains. Like the quiet rhythm of the rain that lingers in the air, gentle and steady, with her heart at rest, Sarah drifts deeper into sleep, knowing that God's peace will always surround her, guiding her, comforting her, and filling her heart with trust and serenity. The night is now deep, and the world outside is completely still. The storm is nothing more than a memory, its fierce winds and flashing lightning replaced by the soft murmur of the trees swaying gently in the night breeze. The air is cool and crisp, the fragrance of earth and fresh rain lingering in the stillness. Inside, the room feels like a sanctuary, a place of warmth and peace, cradled in the soft glow of the candlelight that flickers with a steady rhythm. The light casts gentle, dancing shadows, like the soft embrace of God's love wrapping around Sarah as she lies tucked in her bed. Sarah's heart, filled with the peace of God's promises, feels light and content. The reassuring quiet of the night holds her in its embrace, the sound of the cricket's soft song drifting through the window like a lullaby, as her mother's voice fills the room with soothing words. "Sweetheart," her mother says softly, her voice gentle and loving, "there is one promise I want to remind you of tonight, the promise of God's love. His love is always with you, Sarah. It will never leave you, even when things feel hard or uncertain." Sarah listens, her small body relaxing further into the softness of her bed. The warm glow of the candlelight creates a peaceful halo around the room, and Sarah feels her mother's love wrap around her like the coziest blanket. She imagines God's love as a warm, glowing light, filling every corner of the room, shining bright and steady, never fading, just like the steady beat of her heart. Her father joins in, his voice deep and calming, adding to the comfort of the moment. God's love is like the steady, peaceful rhythm of a heart, he says. It's constant, unchanging, and it will always be there for you, no matter what. Even in the darkest times, God's love shines brighter than anything. It will always find you, just like the stars that shine in the night sky, no matter how dark it may seem. Sarah feels the warmth of these words settle deeply in her heart, like a soft glow that spreads through her, bringing with it a sense of safety, peace, and belonging. Her thoughts drift, and she imagines herself surrounded by God's love, wrapped in a cocoon of warmth and light. It's a love that is always present, always near, like the gentle comfort of her parents' voices. God loves you, Sarah, her mother continues softly, and his love is like the safest place you can ever be. It's where you can always find comfort, no matter what happens in the world around you. As Sarah listens to her parents' voices, the weight of the day slowly fades, replaced by the soothing comfort of God's presence. The world outside is still, the night air cool but soft, and inside, Sarah feels like she is floating in a sea of peace. The quiet rhythm of her parents' voices, their words of love and assurance, gently lull her into a deep sense of security. There is nothing to fear, nothing to worry about, just God's love, surrounding her like the quiet, peaceful light of the stars that twinkle outside her window. The candle flickers softly, casting a serene glow on the room, its warmth a reminder of the love that fills this space. God's love, her parents' love, and the love that wraps around her like a blanket, keeping her safe and protected. The night has settled, and Sarah feels wrapped in that love, secure and cherished. The world outside may be vast and full of uncertainties, but here, in the warmth of her bed, she knows that she is loved beyond measure. Her eyelids grow heavy as her thoughts drift like leaves on a quiet stream, carried away by the steady, loving current of God's love. The promise of his love, unbreakable and unchanging, fills her heart with peace. Sarah knows that as she drifts into sleep, God is with her, his love as constant as the stars in the sky, guiding her, comforting her, and holding her in his embrace. God loves you, sweet one, her mother whispers softly, the final words before the room grows still, and his love will never fail. You are always safe in his love, no matter where you go or what happens. As Sarah's eyes flutter shut, the last thought in her mind is of God's perfect love, steady, unchanging, and always with her. Her breath slows, her body relaxed, and her heart at peace as she slips into a restful sleep, knowing that tomorrow will come with the same promises of love, care, and comfort that fill her heart tonight. Good night, dear one, and may you rest in God's perfect love